There are few places I feel more at home than a school. And everybody who works at a school knows the real conversations are happening in the copy room. The buzz of a copy room, especially before school, is something I miss about working in a school so much. I miss talking about kids and coffee and loved ones and lessons, all while we speak gently to the copy machine in hopes it will continue running smoothly, which it almost never does. Consider this your invitation to our copy room, where you can listen in on thoughtful, vulnerable, and honest conversations among educators who are as fiercely devoted to this profession as you are. My aim is to serve you well, nourishing your teacher's soul so that you can move through your week with just a bit more to offer our kids than you had before you listened. You're working so hard to take care of them. My intention for this podcast ultimately is to take care of you. I want to thank Dirt Path Publishing, a small independent publishing house dedicated to publishing works for social good, for continuing to support the production of this podcast. With editing and coaching services for writers, these folks know how to have the hard conversations in service to your best work, and they know how to do it with love. Dirt Path Publishing is also proud to announce the release of my new book, Nothing's Missing, A Year of Reckoning, Release, and Remembering Who I Am, written for anyone struggling to release the burden of perfectionism and the tyranny of shoulds. For more information, go to NicoleLuciani.com and DirtPathPublishing.com. In the meantime, and always, welcome to the copy room. When starting this podcast last fall, I initially thought I'd start with this theme of paying it forward and honoring the legacy of those who came before us in service to those who come after. The more I realized so much of what I wanted to be said about those things was related to the Malves, I put this season on pause and started with them instead. My intention with that season was to share my most favorite educators with you, so that they might provide a bit of nourishment for your teacher's soul, as they did for mine for so many years. If you have not yet listened to Season 1 with its focus on mentorship and belonging, I hope you will soon. In the meantime, I welcome you with open arms to Season 2, Paying It Forward. As I said in the introduction of Season 1, I had the great gift of many teachers in my young life who empowered me to carve a path toward a profession in education. Sometimes kindness, sometimes encouragement, sometimes tough love, sometimes just quietly modeling the way. These teachers showed me what it meant to serve our kids. They taught me that there is no such thing as other people's children, through working in a way that told me in no uncertain terms that I was theirs, just as they were mine, that in fact we belonged to one another. At the end of my 5th year of teaching, a class of seniors I taught shared a video with me that they compiled of everyone in the class thanking me for something specific I had done to help them learn that year. This was 1999, still in the days of giant camcorders and VHS tapes. I watched that tape with them on their last day of school before graduation, and I sobbed. It was my notice that my debt to my teachers had started repayment. Finally, I was doing the job well, and I was reaching students in the way I was once reached. After 5 years of fits and starts and hours upon hours of very questionable teaching practice, I had finally started to pay it forward. That afternoon, I sent an email to Mike Matthews to thank him, one I've written many of over the years, because he is ultimately the reason I started in this profession with an orientation toward big kids, social studies, and building communities of learning that feel like a team. Everything that video showed me I did for my kids. While I have many more years ahead of me in service to our teachers and our kids, recording the podcast episode with Mike that you will hear in a few weeks was the moment I allowed myself to mark my debt paid in full after 27 years of service. When I wrote him a thank you note after that recording, I found myself in tears again, dumbstruck by the idea of just how many lives I've touched because of the way he and so many others touched mine. I feel like I just might be the luckiest person alive to have my life marked by the ripples of others that go on to mark others with ripples of their own. I'm sure he feels that way too. This season starts with Dr. Misha Mosley, someone I think you'll agree bridges the season of belonging and paying it forward quite beautifully. After meeting Mike, you'll meet 3 pairs of educators, one becoming a teacher in large part thanks to the other. Next will be our first guest, who was unknown to me before the episode, someone I considered a friend moments after I hit record. Finally, our favorite librarian, Lydia McClanahan of Responsive Reads, will be back, sharing some more wisdom about culturally authentic texts and offering us a great read for us and our kids about the importance of paying it forward, honoring the legacy of those who came before us by serving those who come after. Thank you for being a part of this podcast's early journey. It is my number one favorite thing to do, talking to people I love and respect about my life's work while sharing them with you in service to reminding you just how important your work is. In the most difficult year of our careers, you need to know how deeply significant your contribution is. And if you don't feel like you know that now, this season is the one to remind you of that. Your work matters so much to our kids and to one another. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us. My hope is it gave you some respite from your worries and some time to remember that we belong to one another and that there's no such thing as other people's children. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. These 3 things make a big difference in our ability to connect teachers to one another in service to each other and our kids. We also want to thank Dirt Path Publishing for partnering with us on this podcast. The mission of Dirt Path is to publish work for social good. They are proud to include Copy Room Conversations under that banner. For more information on coaching and editing services, or if you have a book you want to publish that you know will serve the greater good, visit dirtpathpublishing.com.